Welcome to the Science for Sport podcast, where we dive into stories and insights that drive peak performance. Join us as we uncover the secrets behind the science of success. Here's your host, Richard Graves.
Hello and welcome to the Science for Sport podcast with me, Richard Graves. This week, I'm joined by the former WBO cruiserweight champion of the world, Johnny Nelson. We discuss how from humble beginnings, he scaled the mountain to be crowned world champion, and how a relationship with trainer Brendan Ingle gave his life structure, improved his mentality, resilience, and how boxing continues to influence the decisions he makes today. So, let's hear from him now.
Unlocking sports science to push the limits of human potential. This is the Science for Sport podcast.
In the time I've been hosting this podcast, I know we've never had a world boxing champion on before, but that all changes with this episode. I'm delighted to welcome to the show Johnny Nelson. It's great to have you on, Johnny.
Thank you very much. I'm just looking at that picture over your right shoulder. I'm trying to figure out the stance. Is that Nigel Benn or Frank Bruno you're in a picture with there? I'm trying to figure out. I can't zoom in that good, but I
I
can
tell
just
you what,
kind of get it.
Eagle-eyed as ever. That's Frank Bruno from a lunch I did with him about 12 months ago now. Fascinating chat with him at the time, going over his career. And obviously, much like yourself through your career, boxing itself has evolved over that time. And I want to get into many aspects of this, not just the physicality of it, but the mental approach to the sport as well. But for those that perhaps might not be fully across your career, give us a brief walkthrough of how it went, how you became a world champion, and where you are right now.
Okay. Started boxing at the age of. Well, I started training at the age of 15. I didn't actually fight until I was 17 because I was that bad. They wouldn't let me go in and have an amateur fight. I had 13 amateur fights. I won only 3. Boxing was never my first love. I think it was just the fact of the community spirit in the gym. That's where I made all my friends in the gym. I can't actually remember any of my school friends. I can remember the names, but if I bumped into them in the street, I'd probably not recognise them. But my life kind of began once I left school, and my education started once I met Brendan Ingle, an amazing coach, amazing trainer, an amazing man, and then I turned professional after 13 fights, and everybody said, "Oh my God, he's terrible. Why are you letting him box? He's no good." And I used to think upside down, and I lost my first professional fight, my second professional fight, and as I said, I used to think upside down. So I thought if I get to 5 fights, then I'll quit and get a proper job. And so, but that wasn't the case. So I won the third fight. I thought, damn it, start again. And it just went on from there. And I never thought I was any good. I just thought the opposition was bad. So when I became British champion, I didn't think I was good. I just thought the opposition was bad. So it was just the way I thought because I was a very shy kid and I really didn't give myself a tap on the shoulder, a slap on the back to say well done. So then you have to go through ups and downs. I boxed for a world title within 4 years of boxing, amateur professional, and I drew. And now I look back at it and think, actually, John, you did bloody well. You did well to say like you'd been boxing 4 years. You had a rubbish amateur career, not a great pro career. You'd actually done well. And I was a boy in a man's body. I drew for the title, but it wasn't a great fight. And that's when everything really started. Went on and on and on. Went for it again about 2 years later. Still a boy in a man's body. And then I spent probably 6-7 years out in Europe as a sparring partner in France, Germany. I think we did Italy as well. And when you're a sparring partner, you actually travel by yourself. You're there by yourself. You're in little digs by yourself. You're a hired piece of meat to get beat up by the guy that's hired you. But I probably got beat up once. No, I didn't get beat up. I got put down once in all the years I ever did it. And I kept sticking it out. I just wouldn't. I was so stubborn. I kept sticking out. I thought, if I fail at this, I'm going to fail at everything in life. And it was the best thing I did. 6 years back and forth. I thought, all right then. And then by the time I think I'd done my apprenticeship, real life apprenticeship, I then believed I was the best fighter in the world. It just wasn't official until I won the world title. Then when I won the world title, I set a record of defences, um, and had it for, I think I did 13 defences. I had it for about 7 years, 6, 7 years. I think the record still stands. And that's it really. That's the career. But there's a lot more meat on the bones. It depends on which part of the career you want to get to.
Well, if we just take it in its entirety at the moment, the thing that immediately jumps out at me is you open up by saying boxing wasn't my first love. I wasn't very good at it. I only won 3 of my first 13 fights. And you go from that to being the WBO cruiserweight champion of the world, a title you never lost in the ring. It was only relinquished when you retired. To be a world champion, it's not just talent. There's a lot more than that. So what was it that boxing did for you, and what changed on that journey to go from it not being your first love to being the very best?
It gave me a place of belonging. My education started when I started when I met Brendan, and I learned nothing from school. That's the honest truth. I left school with a reading and handwriting ability of a 10-year-old. I really learned nothing from school, but my education started with him. And so one thing it tells me now as an older fellow, it tells me that some people are academically on point. They get it from day dot. They're so good. Some people are good physically. Some people are good, just verbally or visually. I was good visually. That was my talent. So if I could see something, then I thought, if I can do it, I can't. I could actually get into my head. If I can see it, I can do it. If I can get it in my head, I can do it. Where some people, it's with the written word. So Brendan understood. He taught me very differently. Brendan understood that you tell me a story and I'll listen to the story. You tell me a story and I'm in. You tell me a story, then I can put it into real life. If I read a book, I can read it a million times. It doesn't sink in. If you read the book to me and I hear the story, I can create the pictures in my head and think, oh, I get it. And I have a better understanding. That's just the way I am. That's the way I am today. I can read something now. And once I've read it, I'm like, I've no idea what I've just read. But if I'm told it, or if I see it, then that's my education. So we all learn differently. And Brendan always complained that Brendan always talked to me about dead people. We'd go for a walk. I'm like, why are you talking about the dead people? Now these dead people are people like Genghis Khan and Napoleon and great leaders. And I say dead people because at the time that's what I thought. Why are you talking about? Oh, these old dead people. But what he was trying to do is he was trying to educate me to say these people did amazing things, but they were just people. So I need you to understand you're the same as them. You've got to think in the same ilk as them. And you're a mummy's boy. And so the penny won't drop until you, I don't know, 30. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to be boxing when I'm 30. That's old. And and he was right. I didn't drop until I was in my late 20s. And I thought, I get it. I get it. Everything's possible. And it's probably hard because if you come from a background of no real formal education, and then you get into a sport where you think, you had the imposter syndrome where people are there represented their country as amateurs and they've travelled the world and people in the other sport have respected them but I was at that the runt of the letter where people thought, this kid's no good. He's not got no great amateur pedigree. This kid's no good. He's not done anything outstanding. So you always think that you don't belong. And so I probably always had a little chip on my shoulder. And instead of making it fuel me, it held me back until I made it fuel me. And that's when, once I understood that, I was a professional loser. So once I understand every aspect of losing and not being successful or a favourite or expected, then the only way is up from there, because then I want to start learning about winning, being a professional winner. I know how to lose. I know how to handle it. And I recognise the flavour. I recognise the smell. I recognise how it looks. So you avoid that. And so I understand I've now got to think, right, I want to be a winner. And there's lessons in life that's happened for me to actually get to that point. But it was all about character building. and Brendan was building my character. He was brainwashing me, but in a positive way. He was building my character from day dot.
That's an art in itself, isn't it? Because for those that might not be familiar with Brendan Ingle, he's got a gym down in Winkerbank in Sheffield, or certainly it's a legacy that's now continued. The likes of Kel Brook, Nassim Hamed came through there, and he had an ability quite clearly to relate in different ways to different people that walked through those doors.
Yes, without a doubt. And Brendan was a circus master. And I know for a fact there's nobody in this world, not in England, in this world could actually create such a gym. Our gym is set up on Newman Road in Winkerbank, a little place north of Sheffield. And our gym produced 5 world champions. I think it was 9 European, 16 British champions. So it showed the system worked. And Brendan understood people. He understood how to get the best out of people. He understood how to inspire people. And I always give him massive respect and credit, because I thought, if you can do that with me, that society thought, the only chance he's got is to end up in prison. And I mean, I even thought that. So, and I wasn't a bad lad. I was just a mischievous lad. I wasn't a clever lad. So I had no dreams or aspirations about what I'm going to do. I didn't want to think. I didn't think I want to be rich. I want to live in a big house and travel the world. I didn't think any of that stuff. When I think about back, even now, I think about my most favourite day, being a youngster, was laying on the sofa watching TV. The fire was burning at the front. My mum was tidying up. And I thought, life couldn't get any better than this. I was 9 years old. So I didn't think, oh God, I want to get in a plane and fly to, and I just thought, God, this is great life, best life ever. And we were skin, we had nothing. I'm from a family of 7, and we had nothing. And I mean, if I say we had a tin bath, people are like, God, you're not that old. We were that skin. Because even then, tin baths were very few and far between. We had a tin bath hung on the back of the kitchen door downstairs, and when we'd have a bath, Mum would fill it with hot water. That's how skint we were. Our toilet was at the bottom of the yard, so we had to go out to the toilet. That's how skint we were. My parents, my mum, and my stepdad, they'd hide when the insurance man came round and once a week to collect the insurance, or the potato man came round. They'd hide, thinking, God, we've not got money to pay him. We were skin. We one Christmas, our presents were the cast-offs of a hospital that my mum worked at. It was a mental hospital, and some of the toys that the kids had just disregarded. My mum, put them in a black bag, brought us that. She worked on Christmas Day, and she finished early on Christmas Day. They were our Christmas presents. So we'd have to go to school and make up lies about what we got for Christmas. We were skin. So what I class as wealth, what I class as value, isn't material things. It's family. Because I think, even though we were skin, I loved my family. I love my upbringing. I look at that and I think, bloody hell, I used to love us all having Sunday dinner. I used to love us all, I love that stuff. And slowly but surely people grow up and they move away. So now I instill that in my kids. It's not about what you got in the bank. It's not about what jewelry you wear, what designer label clothes you wear. It's about what makes you happy. So mine is family. So I say family's my wealth. And so people just don't manage to identify what truly makes them happy, because once you do, then you can strive towards it. And you've got to really understand what it is. When I go to schools and speak in schools and the kids say, I want to be famous, I say, do you know what fame is? Fame's an open prison, because you can't have a bad day walking down the street because everybody knows who you are. Oh my God, look at what he's got on. Oh my God, if you see he said that and he's been shouting, you're being judged constantly. You might get into a club and you might, people might know your name and see your face somewhere, but your anonymity is gone. So really, do you want to be famous? Is that going to make you happy? You're thinking about the good, but you've got to think about the other side of it as well. So I try and make people understand and try and identify what truly makes them happy. So once you can do that, then you can strive for a happier life. We all want a roof over our head. We all want to be able to get from A to B and put food in our cupboard. but it's people have got to understand what truly makes them happy. So I understood that through my experiences coming through the boxing, and the experience that I had.
So, with that in mind, then, when you walk into Brendan Ingle's gym and you start training, and he takes you under his wing, is it the structure that then gives you to start with that
Yeah,
sets you on the road?
without a doubt. Without a doubt, it's the stability and the structure. And the fact that this man, and I loved my parents, but this man, he educated me in a different kind of way. Um, he educated me for life in general. My parents educated me in the world they knew, but Brendan educated me in a whole wide big way different. And so the structure, I loved going in. There was structure, there was stability, um, and even now when I walk in, that smell, the atmosphere. I think these were the best days of my life. But at the time, you don't realize it. But they were the best days of my life.
Talk us through the physical side of the training regime, then, because people might think, well, it's just a different aspect of going to the gym to train, to get fit, to do the right things. But boxing gives you other assets, doesn't it? When you come out with, for someone who's never boxed before, physically, what's happening to you when you go through a session?
When you go to the gym, boxing is not just about physically getting fit; it's about mentally as well. You could be 99% fit, but if you're only 1% mentally fit, you might as well not turn up. You could be 99% mentally fit and only 1% fit, and you've got more chance of winning a fight than you have losing a fight. So boxing isn't just about how many times you hit a bag, how many pull-ups, press-ups, runs you do. It's not just about that. The mental side is as important, because it's the only place you can't hide. And Brendan always said it's the only place you can legally get killed, in a boxing gym, in a boxing ring. So in our gym, it was like we were like a dysfunctional family. We all used to fight like cat and dogs in the gym, but we travelled like a pack of wolves when we came out of the gym. And Brendan wanted that environment because he wanted us to be able to get used to hostile environments. Because when you go and box in somebody's backyard, somebody's hometown, you're going to enter a hostile environment. You're going to get abused. I've been abused, called every name under the sun. I've had stuff thrown at me. I've had every racist abuse you could ever get. But I think what rattled them was because our gym was very multicultural, so the language was very industrial, and Brendan encouraged that in the gym because he said this is life, and you're going to come across this in aspects of your life. You might be at work, you might be walking the street, you might be at a show, and people are going to say things, and it's how you deal with it that shapes you as a man you are, or woman. Because our gym was, as I said, it was multicultural. Every colour, creed, sex was in there, and that's why I think Brennan's gym was so successful, because he worked on the fundamentals of making boys into men, girls into women.
And mentally, then, how did that affect you? Because you opened up this conversation by saying that when you first went into the gym, you weren't prepared for it. It was a journey that Brendan was helping prepare you for. Do you look back now and see, if you like, markers along the way where you changed, you
Oh
became
my
mentally
goodness.
stronger, you thought about
Yeah.
things differently?
Richard, you know what? I look and I think it was the best education I can get. Brendan made me into a confident individual that believed in himself, from from a young man that didn't believe in himself, had no confidence, no self-belief. Brendan made me into a person that looked at people and looked at life differently. And I could read people well, and that's from a boy that was shy, crying whenever an adult spoke to him. That was me, as a young kid. Brendan made me into a confident champion that believed when I was a world champion, believed I was the best fighter on this planet. So you've got to figure out how big that is. At the time, there's 7.888 billion people on this earth. He had me believing that I was the best fighter amongst 7.888 billion people on this earth. Can you imagine how brainwashed you'd have to be? But I believe that. Don't mind if anybody else believed it. And so it was about self-validation. And I understood what he did now. But at the time, I could never see that me climbing that mountain. He told me, he said, I'm going to make you into a world champion. World champion isn't about lifting a belt. It's about being a world champion there. He taught me how to believe myself. He compared me to amazing people, and where I wouldn't even put myself in the same book, never mind the same page, never mind the same sentence. And he said, "There's no difference between them and you. You've just got to want it enough." And once I understood, once a penny dropped, after years of mediocre failure and being classed as a coward and not very good and you're not going to do anything, because I kept that same mentality, that same mindset, because Brendan was constantly in my ear, I became a champion. And a champion that never lost it in the ring. And I always say now, we all need a Brendan in life. That Brendan can come in all shapes and sizes, a father, a mother, a brother, a sister, a stranger. But we all need a Brendan. That Brendan's someone that'll guide you selflessly. That Brendan's someone that whisper in your ear, listen, you can do this. Remind you who you are. That Brendan will be somebody that makes you look at you rather than worrying about what everybody else says and thinks. And that was what Brendan did for me. And that's why 1 in a million. Absolutely 1 in a million.
And what about the physical side of it, Johnny? Because Brendan Ingle will have seen, I absolutely know he'll have seen a raw talent in you. Was that something he nurtured? He changed? He gave you attributes? Did you become quicker, stronger, more astute in the ring?
No, you know what? I was a skinny kid. I looked like a baby giraffe. Size 13 feet, little peanut head, skinny as a rake. And he said, just keep hitting the bag, keep going through the motions. I was a skinny kid when I started the gym. He said, I want you to start doing weights, but not too heavy, much weights, just do a little bit. And all the other lads are going to say, don't do weights, Johnny. It's going to make you stiff and slow. And he said, when they do that, it means you're giving them hassle. That means they can't handle you. So you're doing a good thing, but don't say anything. I went, all right. And then after a while, about 3 or 4 months, I'm doing a bit of weights. I'm getting a bit stronger. I'm getting my man strength. And two of the big hitters in the gym sat either side of me. They said, why are you doing weights? It's no good for you. It's going to slow you down. It's going to make you stiff. And I'm sat there thinking, oh my God, Brendan said this. I'm sat there thinking, like an excited kid thinking Brendan said this. I went, well, you know what? Brendan told me to do it, so I'll just keep trying. And when Brendan came and said, Brendan, they said it. They said it. He said, marvellous. You're doing well. You're holding your own. He said, stick it out. And slowly but surely, Brendan said, I had the ability, but I didn't have the confidence to match the ability. My problem with you is getting the confidence to match the ability. And it took years. Most people have that opportunity, but what happens is they leave before they get to that point. They leave before they're at that stage. And so they live their life in frustration, thinking, damn, I should have done this, I should have done that. So not most people do that, but I just think with Brendan, physically and mentally, he worked more on the mental side of it. The physical side, he said repetition, repetition, repetition. Get in there, do your lines, do your footwork, hit the bag, hit the pads, watch fights, think fighting, think about that kind of stuff. And Brendan, he was brilliant. He was brilliant at it.
So fast forward to, what were you, 31, 32 when you lifted the cruiserweight title?
Yeah.
What was the immediate reaction? What was it? Was it ecstasy? Or given what you've told us about your upbringing, the way you found your way into boxing, did all that come flooding back in one moment?
No, you know what? Actually, I was underwhelmed, even though the reaction is very different. I was underwhelmed because, remember, boxing was never my first love. And so I was happy because I proved that Brendan's system worked. And so I could give him something I couldn't buy in a shop. And so
it's
I
more
couldn't
about
I'd give him
validating somebody that you cared for and valued.
Yeah, but validating him because I'd been through so many ups and downs. I got so much abuse in the industry, and Brendan got so much slagging for sticking by me. That was my biggest feeling, thinking, yes, I've done this for you. For me, once I'd won it, I thought, is that it? I want more. And this is probably why I went on to set a record of defences, because most people, when they become a champion or they win something, that's been their aim. So with it being their aim, once they get it, they become complacent. When they become complacent, their drive and ambition is nowhere near as strong. When I became champion, it wasn't enough. I thought, no, I want more than this. And so I knew that even though boxing was my life, it was just a part of my life. It wasn't my life. I knew that didn't quench my thirst. I wanted more. And when I went on to set a record of defences, it wasn't my intention. I just thought my it was, to me, it was all about character building. I was growing into a man. I was playing catch up, as a boy that was turning into a man, even in my 30s. Um, and so then when I was at that stage, I just wanted more. So winning and winning and winning, you know, I thought, right, give me the next one, give me the next one, give me the next one. And so for most people, that would be their world title. For me, it wasn't. I just wanted more. And each time I won, each time I achieved something, I was just like being able to show off and say, yeah, Brendan's system works, and that was it.
Did that make it the tougher when the time came and you had to decide to hang up the gloves and retire?
Yeah, yeah, it was terrible. When I had to retire, I retired. I was injured. I snapped my patella tendon. It was a wear and tear on my body, and so I was out of the ring for about 6 months a year, and I'd lost confidence in my joint on my knee because it snapped. I just switched southpaw. Boom! I heard the tendon snap, went down, and I thought, I was in peak fitness. Why would this happen? So again, it was a more of a mental thing, thinking, why has this happened? I've done everything right. I've ticked every box. So I'd been out that long. It was just, I thought, this is a young man's game where you've got to stay on top of it. You've got to be consistent. So for me to be out the ring and not be able to train and stay on top of it, I thought it's a matter of time. And so another thing was, I thought, got to the stage where just before that fight, what I should have had, got to the stage where I thought, you know what, I want something else. I want something else. This isn't, I winning. Now I understand how to win. I know what a win is about. So when I retired, it was hard because I think the one thing I was leaving that broke my heart was the gym. Not seeing Brendan every day, being, and that was the hardest thing. I still went in the gym, but it just wasn't. It was no longer his priority in my job,
Mm.
So I had no excuse to give it my 100% commitment because now I'm an adult. I've got to run a house and have kids and stuff like that. So I knew that I missed Brendan, I missed the gym, I missed the camaraderie, I missed the smell, I missed everything about it, and that's what killed me more than anything else.
As you say, injury ultimately forced your hand in that decision, but you've never been too far away from boxing. You're a regular on Sky Sports and their coverage now, but you continue to do work through your own foundation as well. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, you know what? Since Brendan passed, I was absolutely devastated. And I know, as I said, you'll see, I'll wax lyrical about Brendan. And there are no Brendans in this world, but he taught me a hell of a lot. And I'll never be Brendan. But if I can be 1% of who he was, then that'll do me. So, so I thought I want to try and do something what Brendan did, give something back. Now, people said, why don't you be a coach? Why don't you be a manager? I'm like, if I'm going to be a coach or a manager, I've got to do it full time. I can't be doing it half hog. Brendan was always in the gym. I can never remember him not being in the gym. I trained twice a day. He was always there. Well, 90% of the time was there. He was always at the end of the phone. So unless I can be a coach like that, then I'm not going to do it. And I can't. I've not got the time to do that. So now I told the people, like Brendan talked to me. He just spent time with me, to lift me, to inspire me. So I talked to people, colleges and schools and prisons all over, just like Brendan did, took us down. And now I'm working on creating a children's home. And when I create that children's home, I actually think that's the best I can do. I think thus far to try and just give something back like what Brendan did. So I'm working on it. I've just got to raise the funds. And I'm doing it slowly but surely. And I think once I've raised the funds to set up the home, then it's all action, all guns blazing. And I know, people say you'll do it through a charity and stuff like that. I had a foundation. I know a foundation takes a lot of um, paperwork to run and do. I'm like, no, I've got to do this myself. So I've got to save my pennies. You know, contributions are great, but I've got to save my pennies to buy the house and say, right, this is what this house for. This is a home. Because I know one house will tend to another house and another house, and that's what I'm working on. That's my inspiration to try and do something and create something like Brendan did, educate the kids in a different way, and working with the system.
And I know you're on social media, so no doubt our listeners that are watchers on YouTube, the YouTube channel as well, will be keen to stay across it and maybe even help out if they can. So where can they find you?
Oh, I'd appreciate it. Yeah, of course. You can always get me on. You look on my Instagram, or I think I'm Johnny Nelson on Instagram, or email me at johnnynelson@mail.com. It's pretty easy. And again, I'm not too proud to say, look, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to do it with or without you. Every little bit of help is really appreciated. But that is the intention. I was hoping to get the house up and running this year, but I think it'll be, when I get the funds, I think it'll be. We'll just see how it goes, and it will start. And I've already registered a business, so I've probably bought the wheels before I've got the car, so I've got it all set up. The paperwork can never set up that way, but one step at a time. I'll have to go through Ofsted and get everything filled in and get everything done. So it's just the financial restraints now, but we'll get there.
Well, we wish you the very best of luck, and it certainly sounds you're every bit as driven in this project as you ever were in your boxing career as well. It's been a fascinating chat, Johnny. I've really appreciated your time. Thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you, Richard. Really appreciate that.
Unlocking sports science to push the limits of human potential. This is the Science for Sport podcast.
Many thanks to Johnny Nelson for joining us on this week's podcast. And if you found some of the subjects that we touched upon there of interest, things like mentality, training, resilience, and you want to find out more, then you can do so by visiting our website, www.scienceforsport.com. And if you've enjoyed this particular episode, please do feel free to share it with a coach, a colleague, an athlete, or a friend. Remember, the more downloads we get, the easier it becomes to attract top name athletes or peers at the top of their profession. That's just about all for this week's episode. Thanks once again for listening, and I look forward to the next time you can join me on the Science for Sport podcast.
Subscribe to the Science for Sport podcast now, wherever you listen to your podcasts. For more insights, resources, and to join the Academy, visit scienceforsport.com and connect with us on social media by searching for @ScienceForSport. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.